is hugely impressive. It's impressive because I've been following the history of mental health and psychiatry in Pakistan, and it's been very challenging. And I've really not seen too much development in terms of psychiatry, mental health. We talk a lot, but there's been very few practical steps that have been done to organize uh, a mental health plan or mental health or psychiatry in Pakistan. So when this thing came up and Dr. Asma started doing this, I reflected on so many mental health plans that have been developed in the past, and I was aware of that. Read through that, and they never ever went beyond a paper exercise. Um, and the main reason I feel that we lacked is good, honest, and ethical leadership. So people may have done all of these things, and if someone was to look at the mental health plans that have been developed in the past, yes, they have been there. They've developed plans, they developed literature, manuals, training guides, and so on, but it never really went beyond that. So leadership, I think, was critical. It was lacking, still lacks by and large. Uh, Government support and commitment, that was lacking. Mental health really does not feature anywhere on the radar. Uh, yes, on World Mental Health Day or World Suicide Prevention Day, you do have a lot of people saying all sorts of things, but then everything goes to business as usual until the next year. So there was no government, and there were no resources. As we all know, mental health does not have a separate budget in the health budget. It's not a ring fenced budget. We know that health budget in Pakistan is about 1% or even less, but even that is mismanaged, and because of poor governance, even that money is not utilized optimally. So we have all of these problems, and on the other side, we have this huge burden of mental illness. Even if you look at the most conservative estimate, 10 to 15% of our population, the adult population, let alone children, are suffering from some sort of a mental health problem, in need of help. And we know there's a huge gap, even in developed Western countries, between those who require help and those who seek help. So in a low resourced country like Pakistan, the gap is huge. And all of you working in mental health and psychiatry, psychology would know of this, how patients get to us. And the hurdles they have to cross, and then how many can afford it, and so on. So these problems are all there, but the solutions are very few. And so when this program came up and Dr. Asma started developing that in consultation with the Ministry of Planning, and got very encouraging support from them, it sounded as though this may go up to a certain point and then fall off like so many of the programs. But full credit to all the people involved in this. It has gone on from its very basic foundation to where it is now, and it's really encouraging to see how it is developed. And I really feel the critical points why it has come to the stage that it has. One is the leadership. There was ownership of the program, there was huge motivation from the leadership, and then there was support from the government for this. So I think when something is to happen, all of these pieces fall into place. And I believe if your niyat is saf, intentions are clear, they are noble, then doors always open for you. And I firmly believe that. I've believed that all my life. But the intentions have to be noble. It has to be beyond you. It is not to project yourself. It is not to have your name up there, not to have your photograph taken with the prime minister or the minister, but a genuine desire to relieve the suffering of the masses of this country. And we know, anyone who does clinical work knows the kind of suffering people go through in this country. So I think all these things came together, and that is why we are where we are. Uh, and the other thing I was really impressed by, and continue to be impressed, is one, it has a scientific base. So when you talk of MHPSS and mhGAP, it has got a scientific base. It's got a proven base. So it is not something that has been just developed out of thin air. It has been tried, it has been tested, it's been approved. It has the expertise of scores of people from across the world who have really very well experienced. If you look at the contributors to these guides, you will know. So it has a very strong scientific base. The second thing I was really impressed by is the person and the people taking this forward. Dr. Asma, I know because I followed her work very closely over the last decade or two, has been working on this uh, in great detail, in depth, fully committed to this. So, these are the things that take a long time to understand, to develop, to modify, to adapt, as uh, she has done for this, for Pakistan. So that experience is extremely critical, and you really have to have ground level basic experience to develop something like that. You can't do it sitting in your office. You've got to get out there. I really believe clinical work is extremely important. That tells you what people are going through. It helps develop your own skills, your communication skills, your listening skills, uh, and then you have to go out into the field. You actually have to take the initiative, as your team has done. I know Dr. Isra, Dr. Faisal, Dr. Sma, Dr. Nadia, and so many others have been part of that. You've got ground level experience out in the community, and that is critical in helping us devise a program and then rolling it out. It is extremely important. So those of you who don't have that, you are extremely lucky to be led and to be interacting with some of the people that I've mentioned, who actually have experience on the ground. And there is no substitute for that. No matter how many books you read, no matter how many conferences you go to, how many degrees you have, there is no substitute for real life ground level experience. So I think that was critical. Third is that it is a very transparent process. I'm impressed by the updates, the newsletters, at every level, the way it has been done. It's out there. It's not something that is done hidden and then it's published somewhere. It is out there. Each step is being done, and I would really like to commend on this, because it has never ever been done in Pakistan. I know of no other initiative in which it has been done in such a scientific, systematic manner, in such an organized manner, and then the update is given so regularly. So that is again a very strong point. Then the fourth thing is the selection of the trainers, of the trainees to be trained. Now, that is extremely important. In Pakistan, standards vary a great deal, experiences vary a great deal. And so, selecting it, particularly if, when you're doing a pilot, you want it to be done properly so that the results are valid and they can be then replicated. If you have a weak base, if you cut corners now, you may get the results, but it will not get the kind of the weightage that you expect a pilot to do. So I think that was extremely critical. Also, the selection of the right people. I know that there have been other people who feel left out, who feel it is their domain, that this has been encroached on. They should do it. I really don't think so. I have I have looked at the caliber of people in Pakistan. I read about them. I interact with them. Well, I don't interact with them so much, but I know of them. And I really feel, if anything, the whole Pakistani psychiatric community should come together and support. This is a pilot. If this is done, it is found to be successful. It can be done. It is very easily not only replicable, but it is also scalable. And I think you trainers, once you get the hands-on experience, would be able to serve as master trainers for the other programs for other provinces. So I really don't see any objection to that. For anything, I would support this fully, as I do, and I would really call on all my colleagues in Pakistan Psychiatric Society, those who are working in other areas, who may be part of other initiatives, which is fine. I would really ask them to support this, wait and see what the results come out, and then perhaps join hands and replicate it in your areas, in your districts, in your uh, provinces are very huge, but in your districts and in your even in your catchment areas, and so on. So uh, you know, I would. I'm really deeply encouraged because this is really the first time this has been done, whether it is due to the pandemic or otherwise. It's a good opportunity. I support it, and I would call on every other mental health professional in Pakistan to support it. The only thing I would suggest, I won't advise, but I would suggest, and I'm sure, knowing Dr. Asma, she would be doing this, that every step must be documented, because this should really be shared with the wider community of what you did, the process. Every step of the process must be very, very carefully documented, both the positives as well as the negatives, what hindrances you had, how you came across, and were you able to overcome that. That's one suggestion. The second suggestion, of course, and I know it's been done, I just want to reinforce that, is supervision is absolutely critical. So all of you being trained, please do not mind if you are being criticized, or your trainer is being critical to you. This is the only time that you will be able to learn and to correct yourself. If you learn something which is not correct and you keep replicating it, you will keep doing this and it will pass on to the others. So supervision, and for the trainee to accept the criticism, is extremely critical, and for the supervisor to supervise them closely. This is critical, and this is what we lack: close supervision. So if you're able to do that, and I'm pretty sure, I don't need to say this, but I just want to sound out, and I want to reinforce this. Supervision is extremely important, and documenting each step of the process will be extremely important. So well done so far, and I look forward to how this will pan out, and I'm quite happy to uh, discuss and like to hear from you people what your experience have been so far, or any questions you may have. Thank you very much. Maybe I can just pose a question. Have any of you been ever involved in anything like this before?
Why I joined this volunteer is that this is first of its kind, and the people here, the specialists here, seniors, and experienced group we have here, this is first of its kind. And I'm very much inclined towards learning from their experiences, as you have just shared, that it is important to learn from the experiences. So I think that is the only motivation. We have all these tools available, we have these guides available, and we can read on. But joining this program here, the only motivation is to learn from the people directly. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm motivated, and we had a very good day, good start today.
I would second what Varun said. I have been involved in one of the initiatives, which is led by AGC. It also started after COVID-19 surfaced and the academic community was having problems because of the abrupt shift to online system. However, I've always felt that the collaboration and the liaisons that MHPSS has achieved so far, and as you mentioned, the systemic approach, that's something that I mean, they're working on it. They're trying to make it more refined, and we're also involved in capacity building of staff members that we are asking the universities to nominate for these well-being centers. But I think the team here is much bigger, and the resources are being utilized in a much facilitative and way. So this is something that I find that MSPSS has an edge. I really like the documentation, and yeah, uh, as as soon as we started getting the newsletters, I think that was the most educational process I've ever seen for all sorts of stakeholders.
There will be a lot of personal growth in this. You will have in this very structured manner, and the supervision is going to be critical for your own personal growth. So well done for joining this.
Part of this training is that we get to learn not only from experienced psychologists but psychiatrists and other physicians as well, what their experiences are in their field, and how do they tackle a person who is coming to seek help. uh, this is something that I was looking forward to the most, not only to learn from the experienced specialists but how they are coming from different backgrounds and not only psychology like myself.
I think it was 2013, and me, Star, and Dr. Nadia, when we had our first training of trainers. So I had prepared a presentation of around 60 slides, and I started ranting about it was a typical slide for the final year class. And you said, nahi, aise to nahi hoga, because it's a, when we are working with general physicians, it's a very different world, in which I ultimately realized, because they have experience, much more experience than us. So it was a reorientation in a way. Abhi bhi jab ye dobara se training hui, I think it's again putting on a different hat, stepping into a different zone. It's still a struggle, a challenge, but it's a challenge worth taking, because that's where, और ये भी नहीं कि हमने कोई उनके level पे आना है कोई नीचे. In fact, we have to raise our levels to come into their world. So I think it's a learning experience all throughout, and experience over last 9-10 years that's helping in adapting.
Basically, I've never been to any activity like this before, because after graduation soon, it's like it's not so long. I just graduated. उसके बाद ये पहली एक्टिविटी है जिसमें रिलेटेड टू मेंटल हेल्थ कोई चीज़ हो रही है. प्राइमरी हेल्थ की फिजिशियंस का बहुत मतलब we know, मतलब we study about physical ailments and all that, but at the level of primary physicians, we have very little knowledge how to cater the patients with mental health disorders, how to dig out their problems, how to help them. So the reason why I was very excited and wanted to join this project was this, because I want to help the people who do not have any who do not come to specialized doctors, living in the rural areas basically. So it was difficult for me to give 5 days for this, but I tried. I'm doing this because I work in COVID-19 cell, which is very hectic routine, and no breaks, no weekends. And so that's the reason, because my staff, the staff under me, those people who are the frontliners who work in COVID-19 cells, surveillance teams, data, they all are very exhausted, because it's been more than a year they are doing this job, and they are doing this at the same pace, because एक wave खत्म होती है, दूसरी आ जाती है, तीसरी आ जाती है, तो उनको ब्रेक नहीं मिलता. तो ये एक तो उनकी हेल्प के लिए, और दूसरा जो रूरल एरियाज में लोग हैं जो कि बिल्कुल जिनको अवेयरनेस ही नहीं है इस चीज़ की, उनकी हेल्प के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी था. और दूसरा, आई थिंक माई सेल्फ लैक इन दिस नॉलेज to help a person with mental health disorder, or anyone who doesn't have any physical ailment, but such cases. So I was very excited for this, and I really wanted to attend this. That's the main reason.
वो बहुत हद तक कवर होंगी, और स्पेशली अभी जो आपका जो टीचिंग मेथड है और जो रोल प्लेज हैं उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा सीखने को मिला. तो मैं मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा होपफुल हूँ कि इंशाल्लाह ये मेरी क्लिनिकल प्रैक्टिस को भी थोड़ा चेंज करेगा. इंशाल्लाह अगर मुझे कोई प्लेटफॉर्म मिला जिसमें मैं इस चीज़ को आगे लेके जा सकी, तो आई होप कि मेरा इंटरेस्ट मज़ीद इसमें डेवलप होगा, और मैं खुद भी इसको बाकायदा आगे कंटिन्यू कर सकूंगी.
Can I just ask you, Dr. Askar and Dr. Nimra, do you think all primary care physicians should have exposure to something like this?
Yes, it's very necessary. ये essential है, बहुत ही फंडामेंटल, बहुत इंटेग्रल चीज़ है. ये ज़रूर होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि हमारे पास आने से बहुत सारे जो ट्रीटमेंट फेलियर्स हैं उनकी वजह ही ये होती है कि प्रॉब्लम कुछ चल रहा होता है और ट्रीट कुछ हो रहा होता है, प्रॉब्लम कुछ चल रहा होता है, ट्रीट कुछ हो रहा होता है. बेसिकली एक बंदा आ रहा होता है मेंटल इलनेस के पास, और हम उसको जड़ ट्रीट कर रहे होते हैं. हम उसके जो सिम्टम्स है वो हेडेक वाले ही आ रहे होते हैं, उसके सिम्टम्स है हमारे पास गैस्ट्रिक प्रॉब्लम्स के साथ वो आ रहा होता है, तो वो बस पीपीआईज ले रहा होता है, वो ज़्यादा पेन किलर्स ले रहा होता है, और उसके साथ वो मज़ीद अपने प्रॉब्लम्स को बढ़ा रहा होता है. तो ये सबके लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है. और जो हमारी 5 to 6 years की ट्रेनिंग होती है, उसमें जिस तरह डॉक्टर निम्रा ने पहले बात की थी कि ये हमें दी तो जाती है, हमारे लेक्चर्स भी होते हैं और कुछ ना कुछ थोड़ा बहुत, लेकिन प्रैक्टिकली जितना इसको अप्लाई करना चाहिए वो उतना नहीं होता। तो इसलिए ये सबको एक इसका ज़रूर एक्सपोज़र होना चाहिए। और मेरा ख़्याल है कि हाउस जॉब लेवल पे जहाँ हमने 4 मेन डिपार्टमेंट्स को रखा होता है कि एक मेडिसिन अलाइड है, सर्जरी अलाइड है, तो कहीं न कहीं साइकियाट्री का जो टच है या साइको सोशल इंटरवेंशन है, उसको भी हिस्सा होना चाहिए क्योंकि ये बहुत ज़रूरी है। अगर हम उसको मेडिसिन ही के पार्ट में उसको एसेंशियल कर दें, तो भी बहुत अच्छा रहेगा ये सब फिज़िशियन के लिए, जो नए आ रहे होंगे उनके लिए।
I was a bit intimidated by the module that was, assigned to me. काफी लंबा था, and this is the first time that I'm training in the capacity of MHGAP trainer and also online. So the online training probably added a little bit of that difficulty index मेरे लिए थोड़ा बढ़ गया था, and I've had so much to learn using technology to conduct the session. The thing that I'd like to mention here is the guides that have been developed and the local questions that have been added. I think that they're an excellent resource, especially for use in primary care, and I think that cultural adaptation and context would be. Also, I was very encouraged by how well engaged the participants were. So we had some clinical psychologists with years of experience, some fairly fresh GPs, and all of them had their own input to give. And I think that was actively participating made experience more enriching. For me, एक technology के अलावा a barrier is to be true to and faithful to the guide, because we tend to get back into our psychiatrist mode, especially during the role plays. I had to keep pushing myself back and making sure that I was following what the MHGAP guide recommends. So I'm very happy to be a part of this, and I think that it gives me some personal satisfaction in terms of going beyond the clinical practice at our hospitals and clinics and being able to make a little bit of a contribution to mental health services in general, and the learning process that Dr. Asma is taking us step by step on how to plan projects like these and make sure that everything is transparent and documented. I think that has also been very
I think this has been very helpful in one way. This is the beginning of my career as a psychiatrist. At this point in time, I mean, our transition is happening, postgraduate training is ending, and now I would have a bit more autonomy as to how I want my clinical career to look like. So ये अपॉर्चुनिटी इस पॉइंट पे आना कि कोई रास्ता निकल आए कि आप कम्युनिटी के साथ डायरेक्टली इंगेज हो सकें, so that is something that I am very happy about कि मैं इसका हिस्सा बन सकी. Another thing that I really liked about this initiative was कि जो हमारी ये वाला group और in general the people who are engaged with this are coming from diverse academic backgrounds. So वो एक दूसरे के perspectives को समझना, एक shared understanding, एक shared language बना पाना, that has been something जो कि अभी तक जितना भी काम psychiatry में किया है उसमें मुझे वो हमेशा बहुत lacking लगी. मुझे हाउस जॉब के दौरान, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट ट्रेनिंग के दौरान मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि mental health professionals, even though they have a shared goal helping people with mental health conditions, लेकिन it's like कि एक दूसरे के साथ collaborate कर सकने वाली जो चीज़ है, that was always missing, खासतौर पे psychiatry और clinical psychology के बीच. So that is also one particular feature of this program that I really admire.
It's a good experience for me to interact with all of you, and you may not realize it at this time, but you might be laying the foundations of something quite profound for the years to come, all of you who have been part of this initiative. So I think it's a great opportunity for all of you, not just to learn personally, but to really contribute to establishing a sound mental health program for Pakistan. I really feel and I wish that this is given the kind of support, and after the pilot is done, that this can then be taken up by different parts of the country, different provinces, and so on. And your contribution is going to be invaluable. So, wish you the best of luck and keep working hard, keep learning, uh, and keep keep the ulterior motive to help others at the forefront for every activity that you do. Thank you very much.